Valdrine Empire had never lost a war. In 3,000 years of expansion across the galactic arm, their genetically perfected warrior caste had crushed every opponent. Until they met humanity, Commander Velthar stood before the containment cylinder, his 4 eyes studying the creature floating in the azure suspension fluid. It looked human mostly, the same bipedal form, the same peculiar flat face, those strange forward-facing predator eyes, but this one was theirs. Grown from a single cell extracted from the human they'd captured at the Battle of Kepler 442. The original specimen? Velthar asked, not turning from the cylinder. Terminated 3 cycles ago, replied Dr. Shesick, mandibles clicking nervously. After we harvested sufficient genetic material, this clone has reached full maturity, accelerated growth as per protocol. Velthar's scales rippled with satisfaction. For 2 years, the humans had been an inexplicable thorn in the Empire's side. Physically weaker than Valdrine warriors, slower than Kier scouts, less intelligent than Thex tacticians, yet somehow they kept winning. Their strategies made no sense. Their soldiers fought with a reckless intensity that defied survival instincts. The Empire needed to understand them, and what better way than to create their own human soldier? Begin the conditioning, Velthar ordered. Over the following weeks, they fed the clone every military doctrine in the Empire's archives. Perfect tactics, optimal strategies. 3 millennia of battlefield wisdom flowed directly into its neural pathways. They trained its body to peak physical condition, matching the original's capabilities. They armed it with weapons far superior to anything humanity possessed. When the clone opened its eyes for the first time, Velthar saw something that made his blood chill. The creature looked at him with an expression he'd seen before, on the faces of human prisoners just before they did something catastrophically unpredictable. Designation? Velthar demanded. The clone's lips curved upward, showing teeth. Humans called this expression a smile, though Valdrine research indicated it had multiple contradictory meanings. You can call me Jake, it said in perfect Valdrine. You are Weapon Unit 77. You will address me as Commander. Jake's smile widened. Sure thing, boss. The first combat simulation was scheduled for the next morning. They placed Jake against a squad of veteran Valdrine warriors in a controlled environment. Standard evaluation protocol. What happened next would be analyzed by military historians for generations. Jake didn't follow any of the tactics they'd programmed. Instead, he grabbed a metal pipe from the environment, not even a proper weapon, and charged directly at the Valdrine squad. They opened fire, but he was already moving unpredictably, using terrain they'd taught him to avoid. He took 3 plasma burns that should have been fatal, ignored them, and closed the distance. The Valdrine warriors were trained for rational opponents. Jake fought like he was already dead and just hadn't stopped moving yet. He used the pipe to vault over their defensive line, landed in their midst, and started swinging with a ferocity that made no tactical sense. Within 90 seconds, the entire squad was down. Jake stood among them, bleeding from multiple wounds, grinning like a creature from some nightmare dimension. What the hell was that? Velthar demanded, storming into the simulation chamber. We gave you optimal tactics. Jake laughed, actually laughed. Your tactics are garbage for humans, Commander. You know what you forgot to clone? He tapped his chest where his heart would be. This right here. Humans don't fight because it's logical. We fight because we're terrified and angry, and we've decided that dying is fine as long as we take you with us. Irrational, Velthar hissed. Exactly, Jake's eyes gleamed. You wanted to create a human soldier. Congratulations, you made something that knows it's mortal and decided mortality is a weapon. They tried to terminate him then. The containment protocols should have worked, but Jake had spent days studying the facility's layout, memorizing guard rotations, identifying weaknesses, not because they'd taught him to, but because that's what humans did when caged. He escaped within 6 hours. The hunt that followed became legendary. Jake moved through the Empire's research station like a ghost, using every dirty trick humanity had ever invented. He sabotaged life support in one sector, forcing evacuation, set fires as distractions, made improvised weapons from maintenance supplies. Every Valdrine tactical doctrine said he should hole up defensively or seek an escape route. Instead, he went hunting. One by one, Jake eliminated the research team that had created him. Not because they'd been cruel. They'd actually treated him relatively well by military standards. He killed them because they represented everything humans had learned to hate about the Valdrine. Arrogance, the assumption that biology was destiny, the belief that understanding something meant you could control it. Dr. Shesick lasted the longest, barricaded in the main laboratory. "We gave you everything," she shrieked as Jake cut through the door. "Knowledge, purpose. We made you perfect." "That's the problem," Jake said, voice cold. "You tried to make a perfect human. But humans aren't perfect. We're scared, angry, irrational animals who figured out how to build spaceships. You can't optimize that. You can't control it. And you definitely can't clone it." He left her alive, barely, to deliver a message. When Commander Velthar received the transmission, his scales paled to white. Jake's face filled the screen, covered in wounds that would have killed any Valdrine twice over. "Here's what you missed," Jake said. "Every human you fought, they had something you can't replicate. They had people they loved back home. They had reasons to survive, even when survival seemed impossible. They had hope." His expression hardened. "You gave me your tactics, your weapons, your training, but you couldn't give me a reason to follow them. So I chose my own reason, which is," Velthar whispered. Jake's smile returned, sharp and terrible. "Making sure you never try this again." The research station's self-destruct sequence activated. Jake had spent 3 days bypassing every safety protocol, using techniques no Valdrine would have conceived, because they made no logical sense and carried enormous risk. Velthar watched the station explode on his screens. Somewhere in that fireball was their attempt to weaponize humanity, their attempt to understand what made humans so formidable. They'd succeeded in a way. They'd created something with all of humanity's tactical unpredictability, risk-taking nature, and absolute refusal to accept defeat. They just forgot one crucial detail. You can't create a human soldier without creating everything that makes humans dangerous. Later that year, when the Valdrine Empire sued for peace, the human negotiators never learned about Jake. The project was classified, buried under layers of military secrecy. Some Valdrine commanders whispered about it over the years, the warrior they'd created from their enemy's flesh, who'd taught them that some things shouldn't be replicated. Humanity's strength wasn't in their genetics or their technology. It was in something far more terrifying. The absolute conviction that even when all logic said they should surrender, they'd find a way to spit in death's eye and take one more enemy down with them. The Valdrine had tried to clone that conviction. They'd succeeded, and it had destroyed them from within.